Hi everybody, welcome to week 6. Last week was a really busy one for you guys. The change paper wasn't too bad, I hope, but there was a lot of information in that implementation paper. Remember, there were multiple items in the directions for that paper that you didn't turn in, but that you're going to include with your final proposal, and we're getting really close to that. So let's just go over the ones in that assignment, okay? So you had your conceptual model, possibly a consent or approval form, depending on your project and your facility, a timeline, a resource list, any instruments that you will use to monitor the implementation, your data collection tool, and your budget. Wow, that's a lot. So just remember, you need to be working on those each week so that you're not trying to come up all those at the end. So anyway, so this week we're going to focus on evaluating the practice change that you're proposing, okay? So first, let's just briefly look at the cues for this week. So the first one is about gaps in the literature. Now, we're not talking about the research practice gap, where it takes a long time for information to get from research to practice, or maybe never does. We're not talking about that. We're talking about things that you had hoped to find in the research, but that just weren't there, okay? So how can this help or hurt when you're going to implement an EBP? All right, next we'll talk about findings being statistically significant versus clinically significant. And I know some of you had found what looked like some really great articles or studies, and then the more you dug into it, you found that, oh my gosh, the results, even though there was some positive results, they did not rise to the level of being statistically significant, and you couldn't use them. That's really disappointing. So I look forward to some good discussions about the value of each of these concepts, okay? Now, on to our assignment for this week. It will be helpful at this point if you either print off the directions for the assignment, or if you make my picture smaller on your screen and pull up the actual directions, because we'll go down them one by one. Okay, so you're looking at measuring outcomes. Remember, this ties directly back to your PICO. Do not go off on tangents here and measure all sorts of associated things. Really be disciplined by sticking to the outcome in that PICO. Now, you originally found studies and evidence that showed implementing a certain practice produced a certain result, the O in your PICO. Now, you need to look at how you will know if you are getting those same results when you implement the practice change. So that's what we're talking about this week. So you will find this very straightforward for some of your projects. For others, you're going to have to do some more digging deeply. It really depends on how specific and how black and white that outcome was. So let's look at those directions. In your implementation paper, you outline your data collection plan, and now we're going to expand on that. So first, when you start this paper, please tell me your current PICO question. Some of you have made different revisions to your PICO, and I really need to know your most current version so that I can look especially at that O. Okay. So then you need to look at why you chose your data collection method and why the data will show that O or outcome in your PICO. Again, for some of you, this is just going to be really straightforward. For others, there's going to be more explaining. The number 3 direction can be a bit tricky. Tell me why you know that the data you are collecting is valid, reliable, and applicable to that outcome in your PICO. For example, let me give you a couple examples. A student was implementing a new screening tool for suicide risk in an outpatient clinic, and so she had to include the validity and reliability evidence from research about that tool. Another example, a student's outcome was CAUTIs, catheter-associated urinary tract infections. So she had to look at how did her facility actually define a CAUTI as this was captured with hospital-acquired infections. So look at the validity. Are you actually measuring the outcome you want to? And reliability, is it being consistently measured in the same way so that you can count on that data? Okay, so that might take a little thinking about for some of you. Finally, we'll look at what happens down the road. Describe what steps will be taken if those outcomes do not match the ones that you found in your evidence. Then describe implications for practice and future research. And this is often that final section that we see in research articles, implications for practice and future research. What would be the next steps that someone could pursue in your area of focus? Okay, so please stay within the word count. You've all been really getting better at this. Please continue to use those headings. They have been really helpful for me, guys. And also be sure to read the top box area, that highest score area of the rubric. That'll give you some good descriptions there. I've decided that I am no longer saying that I hope to have papers done by Sunday night, because I think that is just jinxing me. This last time I had so much feedback to give, it took me much longer than I anticipated. But I will do my best to get these back to you as soon as possible. Now, we're really getting close to the end. So remember that you need to go back to each section and make changes based on my feedback and any changes you made to your PICO, the intervention, the evidence, etc. So everything needs to line up together, one flow project, okay? Please ask me if you have any questions about that. And as we get a little closer, we'll be looking, I think you guys maybe had a, I think in the course materials there was like a sample project paper or something like that. And it actually, the last time I looked, it was a little bit different than your final, than what the directions are for the course. And so I'll be talking more about that. But basically, for the final one, you will have an introduction, and then you'll go section A, section B, sections, all those sections, boom, 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 all the way down. You'll have a combined reference list, but all the references do need to be cited in the paper. And then you'll have your appendices, which is every single thing in the paper, in the directions that had said, don't turn it in this week, turn it in with your final project. There will be a table of contents. So that's kind of what this whole shebang is going to look like at the end, and I definitely will provide more detail about that. Okay, I just want you to be remembering that you do need to go back and revise every single section so that it all flows together. All right, guys, good luck this week. I will see you in the main